Bat Force Radio.
Bat Force Radio is rated M for mature. Or should that be immature?
Hey guys, Dustin Witt.
Hey, this is Scott Snyder.
This is Paul Dini.
And you're listening to Bat Force Radio.
And you're listening to Bat Force Radio.
You're listening to Bat Force Radio.
This is Kevin Conroy, the voice of Batman, and you're listening to Bat Force Radio, so stay tuned.
Welcome to For the Horde, brought to you by Bat Force Radio. My guest today is Payson Powers from the band Tomb Mold. What's up, dude?
Not much, man. How are you doing?
Good, man. So to kind of just like recap the way we started getting to chatting, from what I remember, I think I was on a Twitter thread of like a metal shit poster.
Yeah.
Who I think it was somebody shared a video of this dude. Basically like breaking down a blood incantation live performance. So the dude he filmed himself watching the blood incantation performance, and he was breaking down all the reasons why they suck.
Yeah.
Like he had like a list. And so I remember seeing it online and watching it and being like, this is parody. Like this isn't real. Like this has got to be fake. And then I kept watching it. I'm like, I think this guy's for real. Like, I think this guy legit has a YouTube channel where he just critiques metal bands, right?
Yeah. I mean, this is the wrath the internet has wrought, you know? It's, but yeah, no, he made a blood incantation video where he went through the checklist of the things that I think he said they were bullshit or something. But I heard of him when somebody linked to me to the Tomb Mold video he did, where he said we are faking it, and faking. He was an incantation clone, which I don't know, man. I don't think we sound like incantation at all. I'm less familiar with like later incantation work, but yeah, I don't see it. I see a lot of Scandinavian metal in our influences for sure. You know, like bands like maybe like Demolik or something. That's how the band started. Derek would write the songs based on a lot of his favorite, you know, Swedish death metal or whatever. But yeah, incantation's a stretch. So it's not like this guy is some scholar. I don't know. But I couldn't even get through the video. I was like, this is gonna be awesome. I'm gonna watch it on my lunch break. And I was like 3 minutes in. I was like, man, I think I'd rather punch myself in the dick than watch it.
So I watched a good maybe I think I got 8 minutes into the blood incantation video that he did, and I think I saw a couple of more. Just I clicked just to watch 30 seconds to be like, this isn't real. This guy's not real, and I mean, I think he calls you guys this, but he also calls blood incantation. So he uses a lot of the same terminology. So I think you said clones. So he called, I don't know who he called blood incantation a clone of. Probably called them
I think it was Time Ghoul.
Okay.
It was Time Ghoul. I know they get a lot of comparisons to Time Ghoul. I think it's completely unfair to call it a Time Ghoul clone. But I see that reference point thrown around with a lot of smart guys who are like, oh, why would you listen to blood incantation? We can listen to Time Ghoul, blah blah. You know, it happens anytime any band has any sort of success that someone says, well, you know, it's not justified or it's a rip off or whatever. So
I found it to be, I mean, I just was laughing because I'm like, I can't remember the last time where I couldn't figure out if something was parody or not. So kudos to him for, I mean, really taking the time to fucking hate something so much. It's a 30-minute video. The one that it's a 30-minute video.
Really long. Yeah, I said my first instinct was I messaged Derek and I said, this is longer than our set.
Yeah, dude.
It's crazy. We've played sets that are 25 minutes, you know? It's just, this guy is just, I mean, it is what it is, I guess. He has a band. I haven't listened to it because I saw a lot of people in the comments were you know, roasting him back and saying, oh, well, your band. And he was providing a link, but honestly, I don't have time for that. So
yeah, I actually was
in the video. So
I was talking to Ben from Blood Incantation because I think Ben shared it that video of the blood incantation one. So I clicked on it and watched it because of that. And then he told me like, yeah, he's in like a tech death band. And I was like, oh, okay. And one of the other funny things I saw was like, he put something like, he's disappointed in Black Dahlia Murder because they have the technical skills, but they're choosing to play metalcore. I was like, this guy is so fucking funny, dude.
Yeah, I think he's something along the lines of like Americans' ears weren't properly intonated to play the style of dissonant metal, like just the most absurd blanket statement. Like,
yeah,
it's like saying that people from England are categorically worse at math, a type of math. Like, it's just like, no. What are you talking about, man? Like, I understand the idea of like countries having sounds or whatever, but once something's written, it can be like broken down and figured out. It's not some magic spell, you know. But oh man, rough. But
so we were laughing because he literally is the physical manifestation of that metal. Yeah, that meme of that dude because he's got a shaved. Well, he's bald, he's got glasses, and he's got a beard. And I was laughing because like, dude, I look just like that guy. And that's how we kind of got to chatting. But what was awesome was,
I noticed your posters behind you. I recognize the artist because I'm a screen print poster enthusiast.
Yeah, which is why I wanted to talk to you about that. I mean, obviously, the band's awesome. Tumult is awesome.
Thanks.
You guys had an insane 2019.
It was busy. We had a lot going on. We all had jobs here, so it was pushing it. Like as far as like being able to, we worked and we did a bunch of tours. Played Mexico, played America with our friends in Superstition, played a little week in California, and then we did Europe, and that was I think 3 weeks with our friends at Feather and Bone and Ritual Necromancy. And that started off with Killtown Death Fest. So like the year was bonkers. We were planning on doing pretty much nothing in 2020. So, we couldn't have anyway because of COVID, but it's not like we had grand plans that were ruined. So I feel like for other bands that had their entire schedules and all their work like completely uprooted, a lot of bands really thrive on like being able to play their albums live. So it's not an accomplishment to release a record, but it's almost like it's only halfway there, Without the tour, a lot of bands end up feeling really unfulfilled, and that's unfortunate, So
did you guys? So the first time I caught you guys live was Psycho Fest in Vegas, which was awesome because you guys played the House of Blues, and was it on the same day as Mork?
They played right before us.
Okay, yeah.
And we played a couple of shows with them.
Right. So
play with oh my god, I'm forgetting the band. We ended up doing the other shows with just us and Mork. It was Rotting Christ, but due to some last minute visa issues, they didn't make it. So I think like we headlined those shows, and it's not that the shows weren't good, but we're not a black metal band. And I think for people who bought a ticket expecting Rotting Christ, we weren't exactly like lighting the place up for them. It was an unfortunate situation. Like we did our best, but those venues were pretty big. So the LA show was like huge. I was definitely nervous about headlining it with all the people who were probably stoked to see Rotting Christ, who bailed, I think like a day before Psycho or 2 days or something.
Yeah, we showed up to Psycho, and like while we were there, we heard that they didn't make it.
Yeah,
like I think we were actually in the venue, like expecting them to play that day because it was like, and we're like, fuck. But
that's too bad.
I mean, it's it happens like with the European bands sometimes. But man, like I saw you guys live, and I had heard you before, but I hadn't seen you live. So the thing that blew me away was like your guys' energy. Like, holy shit! Like you guys fucking go all out. Like and it was pretty early. I want to say it was like noon or something.
Noon, yeah. Because I was kind of stoked to be done early. Like I love playing, but it was kind of neat to play early, and there were so many other cool bands we could go see. So, it is tough because it's kind of we get in the gig, we get to the show, and it's like you just kind of have to go out and do your best. We're not used to huge stages. Like we all played in small bands before this, so we're used to playing like, we had a really good show a couple years ago in a record store here where we felt really at home. But you get out on the stage and you're 20 feet apart from each other, and it's pretty foreign. It's like by the time you start to warm up, you're done. Yeah. So it's definitely weird, but we try our best, I guess. So, but yeah, that show went good. I remember being able to play the songs correctly. So fine line between moving around too much and then actually playing the songs right.
Yeah. Well,
you don't want to go just nuts and make your song sound like garbage. So
yeah, no, you guys sounded tight, and that's one thing that I like is burning into my memory is just the fact that like you guys were fucking headbanging and you guys were like moving, and there was that whole, I mean, you guys do the all blue lighting, so there's a whole like mood to it too. But yeah, man, like I think, you know, Mork I think was the first band that played that day, so they got everyone kind of warmed up, and they sound great as far as like, you know, the traditional, pretty much like black metal, like throwing it back a bit with some like modern sounds. But
yeah, they're quite serious with their sound too, so like they took it very seriously and they performed really well.
Yeah, they had a great performance, and then you guys came out right after and like woke everyone the fuck up. I feel like, I think like everyone was like, oh man, like, you know, as far as like a noon show, it's pretty nuts. But yeah, man, like I think my favorite song off the new one is I think the second track is Planetary.
Clairvoyance with the big breakdown at the end.
That specific fucking back end riff breakdown, like anytime I try to get people into you guys, if they haven't heard you yet, I play that song and then I play that breakdown, and everyone's like fucking like, ugh, you know?
Yeah,
so
it's an awesome hook. I remember when Derek played it for us, we were like, whoa. And then Max put the drums in, and it was like, it's pretty primal, but the first few minutes of the song are quite technical, so they complement each other pretty well. It just kind of comes out of nowhere, but it's really fun to play that part live. Really fun to play that part.
That's why it's like, I think like it does feel like it almost comes out of nowhere. It's groovy as fuck, and it just gets you fucking like bouncing. Like I love that riff. But yeah, man, like the band is awesome. It's really cool to talk to you. But obviously, you know, we wanted to geek out on some stuff. We started talking about the artwork. So I wanted to talk to you guys. I wanted to talk to you rather about, because you were like, you know, you were talking about the artwork that you saw, and you're like, oh yeah, I have not a file cabinet. I don't even know the name of it. What's it called?
Flat file. it's an architectural like flat file, like a
flat file. You're like, I have my flat file is full, and I'm like, holy fuck! Like that means you have a shitload.
I have like an artificial 6th drawer like on top where I'm using like acid-free foam core to store other things, because it's hard to get posters flat enough that you're not worried about them getting hooked when the drawers open. So I can't overfill it, but it's my bottom drawer I could maybe clean up a bit, but it's pretty rammed. I usually flatten posters for a couple of weeks when I get them with a bunch of books, and then bag them and put them away. And yeah, it's kind of one of those things where after like 8 or 9 years of doing it, I'm like, whoa, I have a lot of these.
Yeah.
So
go ahead.
I was going to say, you know how collecting is. It's like you're never really done.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's so what I had to do is, you know, I got, you know, I grew up as a kid, and the first movie I ever saw, as a 3-year-old, was Batman '89, and you know, I became obsessed with it. So that to specifically not overwhelm myself, I'm like, okay, that's all I'm going to collect is '89 Keaton, Tim Burton Batman, because there's so much other shit that I just don't have the time, space, or money. But I was asking you, what was it, and how long ago was it that you really got into it? You said, which one was it, the piece that really got you into starting to collect screen printing?
The first one I saw where I was really like, holy shit, was The Burning by Phantom City Creative. Yeah. This one hits a little, I mean, the image obviously is amazing, but I think this one hits a little harder even because I really don't like the one-sheet artwork for the film. It looks kind of like a Harlequin romance novel. It just doesn't nail the spirit of the movie at all. In fact, I think this poster by Phantom City, I think it's significantly better than the movie. The older I get, the less I think I enjoy that movie. I don't know. I watched it in the summer. I watched like 117 horror movies in October.
Holy shit.
Just to challenge myself while working too. Like it was a lot. But when I watched The Burning, it's comparable to movies like Friday the 13th because of the camp element, but also like a movie like Madman, like someone going through the woods at night. But of those three, it's probably my least favorite. There's some wicked kills in it. I believe Tom Savini did the special effects in it. It's got its moments, but But the poster is, I mean, it's crazy. I saw that, and then when I looked it up and saw it was screen printed too, I'm a screen printer. Like, that's my job. So I was extra drawn in because I was like, how the hell do you screen print this? And this one's probably only like 5-6 colors, maybe. Maybe I'm wrong. Sometimes something will look one color and be 10, and something will look 20 colors and be 6, but it's pretty simple. Early-ish Mondo, maybe like 2011, 2012. And yeah, I bought it on eBay, and luckily it arrived mint, because eBay is a real crapshoot when it comes to buying screen printed posters.
Did you say maimed?
No, it came in really good shape, but eBay,
God.
eBay is a lot of people who buy posters to flip them don't know how to take care of them. So they'll ship them in a tube with no craft paper or no, they'll just ram it in a tube. And I've had tubes show up with one cap on the end, and and there's a thing called Gorilla Grip. When a poster's rolled, if you squeeze it too hard, you just put dents in it. So if I can, I try to get the posters like from Mondo. But if I have to go in the secondary market now, I usually like hit up a collector board because I can trust those people to like ship it properly.
Yeah.
So what on something becomes
is a set, like, I know, like, for mine, I had to get, the Ken Taylor Batman that I got.
That's an incredible poster.
Yeah. So that one, I can't remember. I think I think they were going to release, they were doing a screening of the movie, and they were going to release it only to the people that were there.
That one was a MondoCon release. Yeah. It was
there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And eventually they released a second edition with a different, different color scheme.
Yeah. They've done the past few years where it's like for an event, they would have a poster on site, and then they would have a variant that would sell on the website, usually at the same time. Like when they did Comic-Con, it would be like Guardians of the Galaxy would go on at like 2 on the website, and that's when they would sell the 175 copies at the show or whatever.
So like when you go and look for some of the stuff secondary, are they always like really like high up and like jacked up prices, or like do you get lucky sometimes?
It's kind of weird. It's sometimes they're always more expensive than they cost from Mondo. Nobody will sell you anything at cost. But and for the record, I don't sell posters. I keep everything. I've never flipped a poster. But yeah, you can't really get real good deals. But the thing is, some things will be overhyped and sell for more and then settle for less later. But then the real hazard is when something comes out, you miss it, and then you have a chance to buy it on eBay or something for, let's say, $200. And then you're like, oh man, I'm not going to do that. And then like 5 years later, I'm here like, man, I wish I could get that for under $1,000. That's happened so many times. Where nowadays, there was a Rory Kurtz did a poster for the movie Drive, and I missed it because the internet was out at work that day, and it was on eBay like $250, and I was like, no fucking way, no way. And now I'm like, oh man, if I had $2,000, I'd buy it. I'm also in Canada, so the exchange rate sucks, which is bullshit. Man. But yeah, that's one of the things that's a little collecting. But I've tracked down most of the things I want, with a few other things I'm really chasing. But there's one Batman poster I really want. I want the Martin Anson 1965 Batman that he did, the Adam West Batman. It's really cool. It's a great poster, but it goes for about $400 or $500. I'll get it.
Jesus Christ.
It's a lot of paper for sure.
You mentioning hunting something down. Are you still on the lookout for this guy?
Yeah, that's the variant actually with the orange leaves, but that's probably my favorite Mondo poster ever. And that was 2009 or something, pretty early. Interestingly enough, when Tumult toured with Feather and Bone the first time, we started in Denver. And when we got to Austin, I asked the guys when we got up the next morning if we could go see the Mondo gallery. And they said, sure. Because we had a little bit of time. We went. That was after I think we played Austin Terror Fest. We went, and luckily they had all like their coolest posters up on the wall, because I think the producers of Jurassic World were coming by and they were trying to work with them. So they wanted to show the greatest hits. And it was wicked because I got to see a lot of stuff in person that I didn't have. And this one was up on the wall, and I was like, holy shit. Like the inks that it's printed with are metallic, so it's got kind of like a glittery look to it without being too gaudy. Oh man, it's killer. So when I saw that, I was like, man, I gotta get this one someday.
Yeah.
And I will eventually,
Still on the hunt though.
Still on the hunt. I tracked down a few things recently. I got that Jay Shaw Alien poster this year, and Yeah, that I won that in a raffle, but there's only one of these on eBay, and it's 3,300.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's 0 to 70. It's printed on a sheet of like X-ray film, which is really cool.
Oh, no shit.
It's not even a screen print. So a couple people who framed it have put it in like a light box that you flick on, and it just looks like an X-ray.
Oh my God.
Little bigger than 18 by 24, so it's kind of a nightmare to frame otherwise. But yeah, I entered a raffle, and I think it was $20 and 100 spots. And I bought a spot, and I had one, and yeah, a small chance to win, and I won, and I was hyped as hell, and I was so stressed about it getting mailed to me, because if it got fucked, you can't ask for another one. There's 70 of them. But 70 is a low run for Mondo, so that's a good one.
Yeah,
definitely one of my favorites. But I remember missing out on it in 2016. I think they did it as an Alien Day drop, and I tried and totally whiffed, obviously.
That's dope though, man. Like the fact that you got it finally.
Oh, it's pretty cool. Yeah, I was really, really stoked to get it. So I have it. It's in the flat file now. If I really wanted to get it framed real nice, I'd have to probably mail it to Texas or LA to either Framing Devil in LA, or I think there's another place. Rick Atwood does them in Texas. But I want to do the light box thing, and I don't know anybody here. I could maybe find someone in Canada, but I'd rather it be someone who's familiar with Mondo posters. So
yeah.
Anyway, I'll worry about that in the future.
Yeah, that way like they're gonna take care of it. That you don't have to worry about how they handle it and all that shit.
Yeah, mounted or like putting masking tape on it. Like I've had some framing horror stories from people that don't understand how serigraphs, like screen prints, work. They think it's just like a high quality digital print, or they think that you want to frame it forever. Like that's something in a collector that should ring alarm bells. If someone says, "Oh, you're gonna frame it, you leave it in here forever," it's like no, because then you're probably putting stuff on it like adhesive or whatever, and if it really means a lot to you, like I got my parents a few posters and my brothers, and they'll frame stuff and they don't care. That's where it's going to be forever. So for them it's like cool. For me it's totally different. Like I'm a little freak about it. So
yeah, do you have like a lot of stuff up like on display in your place, or do you post most
not much, just 3 things. So I live in a pretty small place, but when I move, I'll probably try to frame. I think I'm trying to narrow it down to like 20 things I really like. So, which seems high, but I mean, I have like 300. So that leaves 280 unframed. I don't know what I'll do with them. Paper does degrade after a while too. So it's not like they'll stay mint forever. Yeah. And if you're a real OCD collector like I am, that's kind of like something to stress about.
Yeah, dude. This one is...
Yeah, that's actually a different Gary Pullen scream. That's
is it?
Yeah, he did that as a Giclée print, but that's the cover of his soundtrack. He actually did one in the style of Liechtenstein, that has Drew Barrymore's likeness on it, and it's amazing. I actually went to Hamilton to get that one in person. Sorry, I should have been more specific with the. I forgot he did artworks for that film, but I do. He's a Canadian artist too. So is Phantom City Creative. They're based in Toronto as well. The people that did the. There's a lot of really good artists from Toronto. My favorite artist is from Hamilton, so these guys are pretty close by, which is cool.
Hell yeah. And then this one, you said it was also one of your favorites.
Yeah, I have that one framed right behind me right now, actually.
Nice.
I'll lift the camera up, you can see. Yeah.
Oh, shit. Yeah, like literally right behind you.
Yeah, I haven't put it up because I need to, make sure that the wall can hold it because it's pretty heavy. But that one was out of like 50 or 60, and it was for screening in the UK. Yeah. And I got an artist-proof copy from the artist, Matt Ryan Tobin. And, this one's not easy to get now. It uses a lot of black ink, so it scuffs easily, so finding it in mint condition is even harder. And that matters to me. I'm a real, mint guy. I want them to be pristine. So, yeah, I'm stoked on that one. That's one of my favorites ever, I think. I love that movie. It's my favorite Dario Argento. It's a pretty basic answer, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
And a lot of great movies. That's a perfect film.
So were you collecting anything before screen prints, or was it?
Yeah, records, video games, mostly like old video games. I'm a big Punisher fan. I have a lot of Punisher comics.
Nice.
I'm straight edge. I always identified with Frank Castle's sobriety and his ruthlessness. I enjoyed, but I'm trying to think what else. I initially got into records because I thought they didn't take up a ton of room. because they're tiny, right? Like, okay, there's whatever, but you get a couple thousand.
Yeah.
A couple walls in your house. I don't collect books. I don't collect DVDs or Blu-rays anymore. I used to. It's just too hard. And I don't like the obsolescence of the old discs. I don't like spending $50 on a special edition of whatever, Battle Royale, and then 5 years later they put it to 4K. Like, I understand that's kind of the thrill of the chase for the collectors. There's always a new cool version and new cool stuff, but it got on my nerves after having so many DVDs, especially like rare ones.
Yeah.
But, yeah. I was in LA for one day and it was awesome. But like when you got there, I had won like $250 on a Jurassic Park slot machine in Vegas.
Oh shit.
Used that money for Ubers to get around LA, and I spent it all in like 6 hours.
Yeah.
Because I went to the Michael Myers Hedge, and I went to the Die Hard, Fox Plaza, aka Nakatomi Plaza. I went to Pee Wee Herman's house from Big Adventure. Like, I just did a lot of movie stuff I wanted to do. And I went to the, Venice Beach Boardwalk, which is like obviously a landmark in its own right, but I really love Falling Down. So, and the final scene in that film takes place. So that was cool. It was a really nice day. I've always wanted to go to California. So it was wicked. I wish I had more time there. I will come back when the world is normal.
Yeah. There's tons of shit that you can do, especially if you want to do like location scouting for like movies and stuff like that. There's so much cool stuff.
Pretty intense. Yeah, I went to 1428 Elm Street, like the Freddy Krueger house. Looks the same, which is really cool because a lot of the times locations get kind of like totally fucked up over the years and look nothing like they initially did. But that one, it's like the owner kept it the same. Bright red door, also pretty sick. Yeah. No, I liked it there. It was awesome.
I almost forgot this. Let me see. How many? Yeah, I think this was my favorite one of the one you sent. It's going back to screen printing.
Oh, yeah. Mike Sutphin. Wow. He's great. Really awesome poster. There's also a green, like glow in the dark variant, but I missed the drop on this one. This was before I was good at Mondo. I was just one of those people that just go consistently. That one I whiffed on, and I tried to get it, and I just got it, I think maybe a year ago, maybe a year and a half or so, but I messaged some dude, and he had it for sale. He had like an artist proof, so it was signed, and I got a pretty good deal on it, and yeah, it's amazing in person. Really, he's an incredible artist. That's the first horror movie I ever really saw, too. Like, I had seen like maybe Jaws or something that can be thrown into the horror hat a little bit, but Creepshow I saw at like a slumber party when I was like 8.
Ooh.
And it like changed my life. I was obsessed. I liked all the stories, It's just like, and each one scared the shit out of me. And me and my buddies were all scared, but we didn't tell each other we were. None of us slept that night. Like, as soon as in the first one when they put the head in the cake, I was like, I knew I was seeing something totally novel to me. Like, till then was maybe like, shit, I don't even know. I hadn't seen anything scary, and that's scary stuff when you're a kid. So,
yeah, that was Stephen King wrote part of that, right?
He wrote all the stories, and George A. Romero directed the film. So,
okay,
it's 5.5 original stories if you count the opening and closing segments with Tom Atkins, as the father, and then getting the voodoo doll treatment from his son. And they released it as a graphic novel as well, which I've never been able to track down. I wish they would just reissue that. That movie's great. A lot of great actors in it. Leslie Nielsen playing a villain.
Yeah.
Really. And that stuck with me too, because I knew who he was from the Naked Gun series. So seeing him as a bad guy, and I think that Ted Danson's also in that segment. I knew him from Cheers. So that was cool. And I think the crate was my favorite, which is like the monster under the stairs. And that featured Hal Holbrook, who passed last year, and he had a lot of great films. But he's my favorite's probably The Fog, which is a wicked movie. But yeah, that was a portal for me, man. Creepshow definitely struck a nerve. My friends weren't obsessed like I was, but we watched Creepshow 2 maybe like a year later, which isn't nearly as good, and it's only 3 stories, which always bummed me out. But that really put me on the path to horror.
Yeah, it's a good introduction. I mean, like Stephen King, George A. Romero.
Yeah, both crucial titans of industry.
For sure, man. Yeah, I remember the first time I ever saw it. Like I couldn't finish it. I can't remember what story it was specifically. I think it might have been. It wasn't even the scariest one. It was the one where like it's actually Stephen King and he's like turning into the plant.
The meteor shit one. I forget what that's called. It's dang it. Yeah, no, he plays Jordy Verrill, you lunkhead. Yeah, it's when he touches the meteor and he seals the fate of the world.
Yeah.
And then he shoots himself at the end, which is dark.
Yeah.
There's a certain comedic element to it now when you watch it as an adult, but at the time it definitely I wasn't used to endings like that.
Right.
I think right before that we had watched Nightmare Before Christmas. And then the guy who we were staying with, it was his birthday party. His father snuck Creepshow down. I was like, don't tell. I got this other movie for you guys. And Nightmare Before Christmas was scary enough. You know, the kid opening a package and getting the shrunken head on Christmas or whatever, that image stuck with me. But man, Creepshow, yeah, flattened me. Great movie.
Yeah, dude. It's a nice gateway. Something else we were chatting about. I noticed that you're like a big wrestling dude. So I was asking what some of your favorites, who your favorites were. You mentioned Bret Hart.
Yeah, that's Owen Hart. Owen
Hart. Wow.
Owen Hart, my favorite ever. He died really young. He died in the ring after a stunt. But, man, he was awesome. Great technical wrestler. Did some great time in Japan. He was great. I liked his character a lot, and he was a high flyer, which I really enjoy. When you're a kid, you're sort of drawn to the high-flying wrestlers, the people who are doing the top rope maneuvers, and he had some really great moves. And I loved his character. He was kind of the like annoying little brother to Bret. And Bret, arguably the greatest technical wrestler of all time. Yeah, this Hart Foundation there. Well, he was awesome, man. I loved him. And when he died, I was in disbelief because it just seems like nobody was a huge Owen Hart fan. Like he was sort of the forgotten Hart. The other guys went to WCW after Bret was screwed by Vince. Yeah. And Owen stayed there, and they kind of put him in a comedy role, which sucked. For me, I thought he should have been world champ. I was like, man, you got to – they even had some great segments with him as the Black Heart where he was delivering these great promos, but – they had him as the Blue Blazer in a comedy role, and then teamed with Jeff Jarrett. And then, when he died, I fortunately wasn't watching the show when it happened. It was like a pay-per-view, and I was probably in bed. I'm from the East Coast of Canada, so we're in a later time zone. So I've never really watched the pay-per-views live. Sometimes my buddy would buy it and tape it for me. But, it sucked. It was a bummer. But I took some real time off wrestling after that. Maybe like in the 2000s, I was pretty tuned out. And I got back in maybe 2012, 2013. And that's when I really got into like the nuts and bolts stuff. So I watch it. I don't watch WWE anymore. I really don't like it. They have some incredible talent, but I just hate the owners. And there's lots of other wrestling if you're willing to take a look for it. And there's another show on TNT now, AEW, that's a direct I guess not direct competition. They don't run against WWE anymore. WWE moved their NXT show, but AEW is a lot of fun. I like it. It's not perfect, but it's cool. It's an alternative. And then I really love Japanese wrestling. So that keeps me busy. The thing is, if you're a WWE fan, you got to watch 3 hours of Raw, 2 hours of SmackDown, 2 hours of NXT, then a pay-per-view every month. Like, it's a commitment. It's kind of to watch wrestling where I only have to watch 2 hours a week because I got other stuff to do. I got video games to play, So
yeah, it's I remember. I mean, when you mentioned that that Owen was your favorite, I'm like, okay, that's a total wrestling nerd answer because like there are not many hardcore Owen Hart fans, and so that means
after his death, I think a lot of people it's kind of thing where he wasn't appreciated when he was here.
Yeah.
But, for my money, like I love Bret. My father is like a huge Bret Hart fan. But I like I said, I liked Owen's like speed in the ring. He was actually in the Nation of Domination, which was all black stable, which featured Farouk, D'Lo Brown, Mark Henry. Mark Henry, one of my favorites of all time. I think he's terribly underrated. And The Rock joined and eventually usurped the role of the leader from Farouk, which was pretty awesome. But then they went into they competed directly against D-Generation X, who I hated. I hate Shawn Michaels still. So for me, it was kind of great to see Owen go up against like Triple H, who I didn't like. and win, because in the feud they were the Nation were the heels, the bad guys, so they were always using the underhanded tactics to win, which was great to be on their side for once, because then I got to see my favorites finally win, because usually the baby face is always getting screwed over or whatever. But Owen Hart was awesome. He was great. It's a real bummer that he's gone, because he could have done, I don't know what he would have done. I like to think he would have done great things, but it is what it is, I suppose. My favorite match of all time is Bret versus Owen at WrestleMania 10, and I think it's an incredible setup for just like telling a story of like their brotherly feud, where Owen defeats Bret clean, no cheating, no chair shots, nothing. He just pins him. And then later that night, Bret went on to win the title from Yokozuna, and Owen came out on the ramp, and it set up the story where like Owen felt he was owed the championship now because he had beaten the champion the same night. And I did too. I was like, oh man, give him a shot, Bret. I was like a 9-year-old, like looking at the screen, like, come on, man, he earned it. So yeah, I loved him. He was awesome.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, didn't he? Am I wrong? Didn't he win the King of the Ring at one point?
He did. He was King of the Ring. He was a total asshole. Like, his promos after were amazing, doing that. And then he also won the Slammy Awards twice. He didn't actually even win. He just walked up on stage and took them. So he took them. And next year he did it again, and he called himself the 2-time Slammy. And his acceptance speech, you can see the other wrestlers like actually cracking up in the audience. He's I knew I could do it. I was gonna, it was great. Even as a kid, I knew that was funny for everybody. Yeah. But he was King of the Ring, and that was a good setup to try to get him sort of on Bret's level, I think. Because Bret was just a technician, man. He was really, really something. So, and I think Owen was just as good. I just think Bret really had the white meat babyface thing going. Everybody really liked him. He was so cool. And yeah, I don't know. That was a great feud, and it was even better when you got the payoff when they started working together. Bret did a great promo where he like appealed to Owen as a brother, and man, I loved it. Like, I love wrestling because of the storytelling. I'm not going to deny it is what it is. Wrestling is. It's funny because a lot of people who like it would, I don't know. I'm not sure what I'm trying to say here. Some people, it's almost like the wool is pulled over their eyes. They like it, and they don't realize why they like it. Mm. Like, they love the drama, but they're like, oh, I love wrestling. Like, well, yeah, so do I. But there's other parts, that I love. Sort of the theatrical aspect of it. So when it clicks, when you have great physical wrestling matches and really great storytelling, there's really nothing like it.
Yeah. There's something, I think that's like when it was the best is right around the time you probably ducked out, is at least the WWE, like around that 2000, 2001. I feel like it was a good balance of the action and the storytelling. Mm-hmm. And
great wrestlers from that era. Someone like Kurt Angle, just amazing wrestler.
Dude, I fucking loved Kurt Angle, man.
Kurt Angle no one took a shining to the business that fast, too, because he was like an Olympic gold medalist, as he let everyone know weekly. But, man, he was so good, just like born for it. Like, total. Yeah. A lot of these guys come into the ring and they look pretty green, and then you find out they've wrestled 7 years. Kurt Angle was just picked it up, and he was such a great character. Very humble, but also like he was a good babyface, too. Like, he really ran the gamut. Great feud with Stone Cold Steve Austin. I mean, he was all over the place, so. Yeah, he was awesome. There are guys I've gone back and revisited, people like Batista, whose run I had never seen initially, and really enjoyed it. So, and I didn't like John Cena, but now I'm a huge John Cena fan. I miss him. John, yeah, he really got good in the mid 2010s, 2015. He turned me into a believer. So, yeah, wrestling. Some people say I don't get it. And I was like, no, there's nothing to get. Like, you either gonna like it or you don't. It doesn't mean. I wouldn't try to ever insult anybody that, oh, you don't understand. You don't understand wrestling. Like, I think if you don't get it, don't worry about it. It's just like some subversive comedy almost. Just move on. It's fine. Like, I don't know. That's how I feel. Yeah. I've taken friends from shows who've had a great time that don't normally like wrestling. When you see it live, it can be pretty wicked.
I think AEW launched with like Jericho as the guy, right?
Yeah. He had jumped ship. He was in WWE, and then he asked Vince for the opportunity to work in Japan to wrestle Hiroshi Tanahashi, who is like, they call him the ace, but he's like the Japanese good guy, kind of like a John Cena character. Everybody loves him. Jericho went and faced him at Wrestle Kingdom, which is New Japan's version of like Wrestlemania. They have it in January. He asked Vince if he could do it, and he said, I promise I won't wrestle on American soil. Like, I just really want this chance to go to New Japan. Jericho had already done time in Japan as the Lionheart Chris Jericho pre-WCW. He fought Tanahashi. He won, shockingly. I watched that live. It was probably 4 a.m. here because I really hate getting spoilers on the big show, so you're going to stay up late to watch the Japanese stuff live. Jericho won, and it was a shock, but then I think he met Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks and those guys, and they were like, hey, come, we're starting something new, and he just bailed. And he's been great in AEW. Politically, I don't know how I feel about Chris Jericho. I think he's got some beliefs that would clash with mine, but I think as a character, he's undeniable. He's very entertaining, and he's always been popular in every incarnation of his character. And I was watching him when I was 10 in WCW when he was fighting Dean Malenko or whatever, so I've been there for most of his career. I took that blackout period in WWE, but yeah, he's great. So he was like the big draw, first world champ in the company too. So
that's I loved him as Y2J in WWF at the time.
He is incredible when he goes the Rocco toe to toe, and nobody really wins, but they both just show how strong they are on the mic. I still watch it once in a while. It's pretty awesome.
I also loved how insane it was when he was talking shit to Stephanie during that time. The stuff he would say to her.
Yeah, it was totally nuts. Yeah, it's crazy that Vince was always okay with that stuff. I mean, it's out. I guess Vince would, sell his mother if it made him 10 cents. Like, he's proven that for years. I think he would admit that. But that was great. Jericho was really over with the crowd because Stephanie's a very hateable brat on screen. Perhaps in real life too. I mean, I don't know. I'm not a big fan. But on screen, she just sucked. So watching Jericho call her all those names was great. Albeit, I mean, if you watch it now and it comes off as pretty misogynistic and a little cringe. But, when you're like a stupid 17-year-old, it's like you're like a pig in shit watching that. It's the greatest.
Yeah, it was definitely on brand for the time and pushing the envelope to the point where like you have to question like that's really like the boss's daughter and he's really saying that. So how is
there's a WWE program where she talks about the only storylines she didn't want to do, and I think there's 2 things she said no to Vince about, and one of them was that there was a storyline where Vince wanted her to be pregnant, and he wanted the father of the baby to be Shane McMahon, her brother.
Oh my God!
And she was like, "No," and she said yes to a lot of stuff. So, I mean, I guess that was her line in the sand. But I can't imagine showing that on TV. Like they've done some objectionable stuff. The Katie Vick storyline, Triple H having sex with a corpse, like. That gets brought up a lot when people talk about the low-brow aspect of WWE. But, man, if they had done the Stephanie pregnancy angle, oh, geez. Everyone would know about it because people would all bring it up because it would be terrible.
Yeah. Speaking of AEW, you mentioned you're digging this tag team right now, right?
Oh, yeah. These 2 guys separately are just incredible. But Pac was in WWE for a while as Neville, and before that he wrestled as Pac. He was in Dragon Gate. He's unreal. Pretty small dude, ripped, incredible speed, super cool finishing maneuver. And then Rey Fenix is kind of like the new Rey Mysterio. He's just Rey Mysterio was great in WCW as a luchador, probably the greatest luchador ever for my money. But when you watched a Rey match, you knew you were going to see something cool. Like there was always going to be really cool high spots, guaranteed. He was going to do something that just made you like lose it. And that's how I feel with Rey Fenix now. Like when Rey Fenix is on, I put my phone down and I like turn the volume up. Like it's going to be wicked. He's so good. They just had a match with the Young Bucks last week that was, well, maybe it wasn't last week, might have been the week before, but the match was incredible. Culminated in the Bucks pulling his mask off, which is like ultra disrespectful to the luchadors. The match was wicked, and yeah, he moves in a way where it's like you think both these guys do, like they're going to get injured. They're just launching themselves all over the place. That is a problem with wrestling, I think, is how high impact it is. But I'm not going to lecture the wrestlers on what to do or what not to do. But there's some stuff that looks crazy. Interestingly, the two guys they're facing in this little photo here, you have the Butcher and the Blade. Butcher is Andy, and he plays in the band Every Time I Die.
So insane. It's
crazy, and he's really good. He's solid. He's a big man. He's got a wicked look, and I really enjoyed him. I knew he was on the Indies for a while, and I hadn't watched much of him. And the Blade is Braxton Sutter, I think, and he was in TNA for a while. I'd seen a few of his matches, but they're really good. I'm enjoying them too. The show's pretty solid. But yeah, Pac and Ray Phoenix, give those two guys the titles like now. That would be a really wicked run. They've already proven it worked really well with the Young Bucks, but they are awesome. Pac is a guy who left WWE because he was just not happy with the way his character was being directed. Some people are happy to stay there forever and draw a paycheck, and that's their prerogative in their life. But he was someone who really apparently wanted more out of his wrestling career, and he's doing it. He is wicked.
Yeah. When you first told me Pac and Ray Phoenix, when I looked at Ray Phoenix, I'm like, oh, is this Rey Mysterio? But he can't use his name, so he's Ray. And I looked at him like, those aren't his tattoos. That's not Rey Mysterio.
No, it's the same kind of vibe. Like, not a big dude, just incredible speed, lots of moves that you've never really seen before. Like, there was a match, I think it was like a 10-man tag, which are usually total clusterfucks because there's too much going on. But there was a 10-man tag from last year, and Ray Phoenix was doing stuff I've never seen. I'm 36. I've watched wrestling for a long time. So if I can see something totally new, I usually jump off the couch, which I think I probably did. So yeah, man, wrestling is fun.
When was the first time? Do you remember when was the first time you saw the Hell in a Cell when Undertaker threw Mankind over?
Yeah, man, that is still the crazy. There's been crazier high spots in maybe deathmatch wrestling, guys jumping off roofs through light bulbs and stuff. And I'm not a huge deathmatch guy. There's one or two guys that I favor, but that bump with Mankind and Undertaker is insane. I probably saw it the next night on Raw, and my dad was losing it. My dad was like, "Oh my God, how is he still alive?" The fact that the match continued after, then he went through the ring.
Dude.
It's just watching it now. It's that can never happen again. He has his tooth is in his nose.
Yeah.
Driven up through his face. He's got the thumbtack spots with the spots, which don't look fun. But that getting tossed off the cell, I've heard them say it was an accident too, but it looks
no way.
He just trots him over to the edge and just tosses him and then stands there. It's Mick Foley's one of my favorites ever. He's great. He was great everywhere. Great stuff in Japan, incredible stuff in ECW. His WWE run as Mankind is great. Then he came back as Cactus Jack. He had a lot of really cool spots. Wrestled Edge at, I think it was Wrestlemania, and it was really good. Intense match. That's the flaming table, spear through the ropes match. But that Hell in a Cell match is totally fucked. Really insane. Mick Foley put out a book in maybe 99 called Have a Nice Day, and I remember buying it and reading it. It was really good. But there was a chapter on Owen that was amazing. I had a real affinity for Owen, but I read that chapter 100 times. And it was really cool to hear somebody thoughtful and articulate talk about what kind of person he was, because as much of a fan as I was, I only ever knew the on-screen character. So, and that's the thing with wrestling is sometimes these guys that play monster heels or, these bad guys are actually just great people, but you never know because it's kind of like you're watching a movie. So, I've loved Mick Foley since I read that book because of how he came across, but I really loved what he had to say about Owen. It was awesome. Good writer.
Yeah, man. I think that's kind of when I fell in love with both Mankind and The Undertaker is just the fact that either of them were involved in that. And like you said, if you I've watched it maybe 1,000 times, that clip.
Yeah.
And every time I watch it, I'm any few inches in any other direction, Mick Foley would have died.
Yeah, that is how wrestling seems to go. It's a game of inches a bunch of times. Someone slips and almost breaks their neck or whatever. But that one, yeah, I mean, the WWE, the outside's a lot more protected now. But back then, it was like in a crummy announce table. Now they use crash pads for like if Shane decides to jump off the cell, which he usually does yearly at WrestleMania. You can tell there's a crash pad, which is fine. I'm not one of those people that complains about that. I want people to be as safe as possible. But yeah, back then it was like, 1-inch foam mat, unprotected concrete, and then a guardrail that looks like it was used for a prison riot. Like there's not much going on. He just tosses them. Like, oh man, if he had missed the table.
Yeah.
The tables are there for a reason. They break your fall. There's some really ugly ECW spots where the tables missed. Spike Dudley, this tiny guy who wrestled with the Dudleys, had a lot of great matches in ECW, probably 150 pounds soaking wet. But he'd get thrown out of the ring and sometimes just miss the table, and it's like sickening, like the way he hit the ground. I don't know how that guy's still walking, but
yeah, that's why I love the.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I love that video of the dude. Like I want to say I don't know who's like which wrestlers they are, but it's that super famous viral video of the guy in like some gymnasium somewhere in the crowd, and he's like, "I just want to thank every single one of y'all for everything you do to your bodies."
Yeah, it's weird because I laughed at that, but I also totally understand what he's saying.
Yeah.
Like I really like I'm like, oh man, look at this guy, he's cracking up, and then part of me is like, yeah, like I get it, I feel that. Like when you watch, I mean, it's when you see what happened to a lot of wrestlers too. It's even more understandable if you're a Chris Benoit fan or even a Mike Awesome fan. Mike Awesome killed himself in his early 40s. And he had his matches with Masato Tanaka. Holy fucking shit, man. If I'm bummed out, I watch one of those matches. I'm like, oh man, I had a terrible day at work and I'm just depressed. Better watch two guys try to kill each other with chairs. Like, whose matches are fucked. They are fucked. It's crazy and Tanaka, I believe, still wrestles. He takes some of the ugliest unprotected chair shots in history in those matches. It's crazy. It is a testament to the Japanese fighting spirit. Like, nuts.
How old is he now?
Tanaka? Oh man, he's probably in his 50s, maybe.
Yeah.
And he was a big wrestler in Japan, but yeah, he's known for the ECW matches with Mike Awesome. And they had their final one at ECW One Night Stand after WWE purchased them. And that's my least favorite of the three, and it's still the best match on the card. You guys had incredible chemistry, but they were just really going for it. Mike Awesome, I think, was maybe 6'6" and agile as a cat, like jumping off the top rope into the crowd like it was nothing. Both guys doing spots that looked like they would kill you if you fucked them up. Couple of power bombs, couple ugly, throws to the outside. But it's great. I mean, I'm glad they didn't die in the matches, but it's rough. It's kind of like you're kind of glad it's a bygone era. Although there is deathmatch wrestling that would rival that nowadays for sure. Guys like Nick Gage. Nick Gage like died in a wrestling match. He had to be resuscitated.
Wow. Yeah.
He'll do anything. So, and then there's a famous viral video of Joey Janela, who's in AEW, when he fought against Zandig, and they jump off a roof in like this bizarre suplex position into like a burning half-ton truck. And I think Joey Janela is maybe like 21, 22, and Zandig at the time was a deathmatch legend, but it's a crazy spot. People still do stuff, and they'll do it for nothing. A lot of this deathmatch wrestling, it's not like they're getting paid big bucks. They get paid $40 or something, but love of the game, I guess.
Insanity, man.
Totally nuts.
Yeah, dude. Well, man, I want to be respectful of your time, and we're almost coming up on an hour. I really quick, I guess we should talk about music. But you are a band dude. But so I was also asking you, like, what are some of the bands that got you into quote unquote metal? And very awesomely, you answered Megadeth.
I love Megadeth. I used to watch the Much Music in Canada. We have Much Music instead of MTV. I used to watch the Much Music Countdown with my mother, and that was around the time Countdown to Extinction was out. And Symphony of Destruction was on, and I thought it was cool. She liked the song too a lot, actually. And then I got a tape of Rust in Peace, and I was like, holy fuck.
Oh, yeah.
I love guitar solos. Like I just love them. So that record was like, the first 2 songs is just better than pretty much anything else I ever heard at that point.
Yeah.
So, and then as I went further back, there's other great stuff. I really liked the first record a lot too, Killing. Yep, that was one of the first ones, first seeds. And Metallica, obviously, but that goes without saying. Like every kid heard when you heard Master of Puppets or something, like, oh my God, what is this?
Yeah. Megadeth was one of those bands I think that opened me up to like all the other thrash bands eventually. And then, just the technicality like that they're playing at is like, many times Metallica is a more popular band, but these guys were doing things that I don't think Metallica could ever do.
Yeah. Mustaine and Friedman specifically, when they're trading solos, that era of Megadeth, especially like, Rust in Peace, is just totally insane. And they also had like my exposure to metal was, I didn't have a cool metal uncle or anything, so it was through TV. So the only other video they had that was like a big enough hit would have been Peace Sells, But Who's Buying? And I thought that was so wicked. I had a blank VHS tape that I would keep in the VCR, and when a cool video came on, I would tape it. And I remember I had Peace Sells taped like 3 times, but I meant the first like 10 seconds of each time, so I didn't have a complete version because I would scramble to press record. But yeah, I thought that was a banger too.
Yeah, for sure. You said that an early one too was Suicidal.
Again, the guitar. I mean, I love the band. Institutionalized was like the video I saw. I thought it was cool, but my ears gravitated towards the wild solos always going on in the background. And when I actually got into Suicidal and heard the first couple of records, not many bands like that. They have some long songs, but they're good. The production's good. They really were able to do both things. I thought they were really wicked. I got the first 2 records, and songs like How I Laugh Tomorrow When I Can't Even Smile Today, like those songs, that's like an epic tune. I don't think people think about that when they think about that band. I think I saw them live at a Metal Fest that they played here, Heavy T.O. I think they had a half-hour set, and I think they played 3 songs. It was crazy. I think they played like a 10-minute Institutionalized, and they played, which was overkill. And I think they opened with You Can't Bring Me Down, which is like, if I had to like fight Mike Tyson, I would put that song on, and I might win. That gets me going.
What's fucking awesome? I haven't gotten to see this lineup yet, but the current lineup has Ben from Dillinger and Dave Lombardo on drums.
Yeah, it's like a real like super group vibe right now, which is wild. I was a big Dillinger fan because that was where I just couldn't believe what I was hearing. I heard Calculating Infinity, and I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
I believe Thundercat also played bass in ST for a while. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he's like a bass genius. He's put out a couple of really cool records on his own, but they've had an interesting lineup. I think the drummer is also Beyonce's drummer.
No shit.
Like an incredible session musician, but obviously he gravitates towards the heavy stuff too. Yeah. Because when I saw them live, he had a massive kit, and he's just one of those guys where you watched him play. Like, this guy can do it all. Like, he's real. They're wicked, man.
Yeah, there's a video of them recently live, and Ben, I mean, the shit he was doing with Dillinger, he's like such a great fucking live presence for Suicidal, because he's like getting on top of the fucking like full stacks and jumping and like doing twirls and shit. And there's I forget, like, he jumps off of one of the cabinets and he just fucking eats shit like on stage. And it's just like it's like he's doing it with Suicidal. It's so cool to see though, like. Yeah, he's like,
it's an interesting pair up. I remember when I heard about that, because I think he joined right after Dillinger had like announced they were rolling. I was like, but I mean, he's got the chops. He's a very good player. So, yep.
Yeah, if you're gonna jump into a band, like, why not one that you probably worshipped as a kid?
Yeah, absolutely. Must be a real thrill.
Yeah, and then you said this little ditty right here was one of the ones that blew you away.
Oh, totally. That record is insane. Like, if you haven't heard, especially they're Canadian as well, which was interesting. But I've heard them through a guy at school who also played guitar. And he was like, oh, man. He had tried to sell me on bands like In Flames. I remember he was a big fan of In Flames. And he lent me a CD, and it wasn't really my thing. It just didn't hook me. I listened to the album, and I couldn't hum a song after. And then he was like, oh, do you like Cryptopsy? And I was like, who's Cryptopsy? I think I was maybe 14. And he lent me the CD, and he was like, okay, take it and tape it and then bring it back. And like 30 seconds in, I was like, holy fuck, what is this? I thought it was going to be some fake out where they were really fast and then it got boring, but it never got boring. It was just totally off the rails the entire time. I hadn't seen The Exorcist 3 yet at that point either. The album starts with a sample from Exorcist 3. So when I saw it, I was maybe 17, and I was, that I knew the record inside out. So I love that when you watch a movie and you hear a sample, from a film or whatever that you've seen a bunch, but or from a record that you've listened to a lot, you recognize, oh shit, here's that sample from whatever. Sometimes it's totally shocking, but that record is nuts. It just sounds like it's coming apart at the seams the entire time. I still listen to it constantly. Like, it's like the drummer is so good, but he's also, you can tell he's like pushed to his limit. Like, if they increase the BPM by 1, I think his arms would fall off. Like, it just is totally mental. Incredible vocals. I do find sometimes vocals in metal can get a little repetitive if they're really, really good and there's a lot of personality. I always think about a band like Obituary, where it's like the vocals are just like, they're like the show. You get these vocals that are just like demented and interesting the whole time. Or a band that has, something like the early Cannibal Corpse records, where it's kind of like extreme in various ways, but your blood's pumping the whole time. But the Cryptopsy vocals, I love those high shrieks, and they are just totally nuts. Wicked. Yeah. Great record. That was the one where I was really getting into like extreme metal. I had already liked a lot of hardcore and stuff, but through Cryptopsy, I heard another Quebec band, Gore Guts, and that was awesome. So a bit of a gateway band for sure. I was lucky I had friends in school that were burnout metal guys. Otherwise, I probably would have just become like a Blue Oyster Cult super fan or something.
Yeah, it's important to have those people that have like a connection to something that they can share with you. So like something about Cryptopsy that was so fucking, like, again, I live 30-40 minutes outside of LA. Man, I don't know if you know Devastation on the Nation tour. Who puts that on? Jesus Christ, I'm forgetting his fucking name. Starts with a D, but he's based out of Texas now. But he puts on like a great tour with Devastation of the Nation, and he put together Daniel Defonce. I don't know if you are familiar with him, but he's like a booker, promoter, and that's one of the tours that he does. And he put together one year, it was Cryptopsy as like the headliner, then like Origin, a bunch
Origin. Of that band is, I'm like, oh man, I love Origin, and then I listen to like 8 minutes of Origin, and I'm like, I need to sleep. Like this shit is crazy. Kind of, Small Possession. That's another band that I listen to. That's just I listen to these bursts, but the technicality is just overwhelming. It's so crazy. Yeah. Origin are fucking wicked.
Yeah.
Totally crazy. It's one of those bands where you really, if you're a musician, it just hits you like a ton of bricks because you're like, how are they doing this? So, there's a YouTube channel that I love to watch. Jazz drummer reacts, and he listens to Origin. I think I've seen that exact one. He also listens to like Necrophages, stuff like I love Necrophages. I would kill to hear that third record. I don't know if they were going to come out or not, but Epitaph by Necrophages is so good. It's one of my favorites. I love that it's not really too dropped too. It's like, I don't know if it's standard tuning, but they're not in like any Mortician tuning or anything. So the clarity is just super punchy, and the playing is crazy. That record was a huge deal when it came out. Crazy,
still is, man. All the reissue,
it's awesome, but I mean, I could only dream to play guitar like that. So
I can't remember if it was the most recent reissue, but I remember like, man, who was it that reissued it? Was it Relapse? Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then like people were flipping it already, like even before they shipped it out, it was already like to $60 to $70 like on Discogs.
That's some Mondo shit, man.
I know.
The posters aren't even printed yet. They're selling on eBay for $200-300, you know?
Yeah.
That's sometimes your sweet spot to buy it, though, because then you get screwed over later once they're at the end and everyone decides they want it. So, no, I don't actually have that record on vinyl. I should get that one. It's wicked.
Yeah, dude. Well, man, this was fucking rad. I got some insight on the wrestling. I think you're going to be my wrestling go-to guy from now on. And every time I have a question. Oh, I have a question. All right, I do have a question.
Yeah.
Because I think you are a Kevin Owens fan, right?
I'm a huge Kevin Owens fan. I love Kevin Owens.
Okay, so as a guy who doesn't watch and doesn't understand, because I just have no frame of reference to the current stuff right now, like, why is he so big?
Like, why is he a popular wrestler?
Like, people love him.
It's,
you know,
a lot of it's his attitude. He really, like, he's got this almost like mercenary attitude. Some wrestlers, like, you look at someone like, let's say, a big, easy touchstone, like Hulk Hogan, when he was a babyface wrestler, a good guy, he was like comically good. The eat your vitamins nonsense. Then when he was a bad guy in NWO and WCW, he was like a coward, villain, traitor who just ran away from everything. Kevin Owens, whether he's a babyface or a heel, he's like the same guy. Like, he's just this super intense, wrestles like he's trying to kill you, just a beast. And when he showed up, he beat John Cena, which was a huge way to establish him on like the main roster. Nobody really beat John Cena. He's got really great promos, and he's just, I think they've tried to make him into somewhat of like a Stone Cold Steve Austin character, kind of like the fuck authority. He uses the stunner as his finishing move now. But for a guy that size, he can do moonsaults. He can do all kinds of crazy crap that you wouldn't think a dude at his weight should be able to do. And he makes it look believable when he kicks your ass. He's not that smaller wrestlers don't, but he really sells it. Yeah, he's great. I don't even know. I saw him in Ring of Honor before WWE when he was Kevin Steen. In the first match I saw, he wrestled Adam Cole, and he was also in the WWE program. Now he's in NXT. And yeah, the crowd was chanting "Kill Steen, kill." And it was rough, man. He power bombs people on the edge of the apron, the really hard part. Like, I don't know why he's so popular, but I mean, he went to WWE, and I said, "Oh, they're gonna ruin him." And like 6 months later, I had 3 Kevin Owens shirts. You know, it was just, I was into it. So I don't know if I could take anybody out of the company and put them in a different company right now. It'd be Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. And I mean, you know, I'm not trying to like shit on their decision to work for WWE. It's just, as like a fan of their earlier work, I would love to see them in a different program, because in WWE there's only so many spots. People get very frustrated when their favorites don't win all the titles or win all their matches, but they have so much talent. Like, they've really locked down pretty much everybody they could off the indies. When you look at the resumes of the people they have some of these incredible wrestlers, people who are in the, you know, Pro Wrestling Illustrated top 10. You know, they do this top 500 wrestlers every year. They have some of these incredible wrestlers just doing these comedy skits. Someone like Akira Tozawa, who they have doing these silly skits where he runs around with ninjas. And as a wrestler, like, if you've seen his stuff, you're so frustrated watching it because you're like, this guy should be like fighting for a title. Like, he's so good. But you have to remind yourself, you know, booking wrestling is a lot harder than it looks, I'm sure. I don't want to be too much of an armchair booker. But the other thing is, yeah, they have so much talent. It's like, what can they do? You're sort of like, get any TV time. But Owens and Zayn, and they've had a great feud. They're also from Quebec. They've had a lifelong feud. They just fought at WrestleMania, which I didn't watch. And I would love to take those guys out. They were in Ring of Honor and WWE now, and they'll probably stay there, but you never know. Yeah. Anything could happen.
Do you ever listen to I don't know if you know the Metal Injection guys, but they do their own wrestling podcast.
I haven't listened to it. But I'm aware of it. I see them on Twitter talking about wrestling.
Yeah, dude, they would love to have you on, especially because like that's all they do. Like, they have the Metal Injection site and they do the shows specific to band stuff. But I think they call it, it's called the Squared Circle Pit, and like they just 100% only talk about wrestling, and
Yeah,
they are
that's cool.
they're big indie fans too. Like they go to a lot of local shows.
I should definitely check that out. Yeah, I'm a huge Japanese women's wrestling fan, specifically Stardom, which I watch every Wednesday. I watch that before AEW get caught up, and yeah, that's sort of what that and AEW are what I'm most into right now. But yeah, if they like indie stuff, I can talk about Stardom until the cows come home.
Yeah, dude. Well, hey, man, I really appreciate you coming on. I really appreciate you hanging out. This was awesome, dude. So
yeah, thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it. I had a lot of fun. I love
dude.
chatting about stuff. So yeah, it was wicked. Thank you.
As soon as everything picks up again, and hopefully you guys can get back out on the road safely and all that stuff. And like I said, you had a monster 2019, so I hope you guys can just pick that right back up and just carry that on.
Yeah, I think so. We'll have, we'll do some new music. I think before any touring happens. I think we're done touring the music that's released. We had that one song on the Cyberpunk 2077 soundtrack.
Yeah, dude, that was fucking nuts. Like that's all because like video game soundtracks. Those are massive now.
Yeah, it was really neat. They asked us to. Max had seen the email and forwarded it to us and was like, "Oh, should we do this?" Like, "Oh yeah, totally." We actually went to CD Projekt Red when we were in Poland. We actually got to go to the studio and see them working on the game, which was cool. I have yet to play the game. I am going to wait till it's done. Like, I'm sure there'll be some definitive edition out. But yeah. I had played The Witcher and I wasn't crazy about it, but I'm not a real medieval setting type guy either. I think Cyberpunk will be more my speed, but I will play it, but I want it to be a flawless experience. So yeah, that was cool. And that was a song where they said, try to write a song of 3 minutes. So we wrote a song that was 3 minutes on the dot, and I got to write the lyrics for that one. It's the first song I ever wrote the words for in the band, and I based it on sort of took inspiration from a short story that I really love called I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream by Harlan Ellison. And it's sort of about, I suppose, technology and mortality. So yeah, that was cool. I was hyped when it came out, and it was super fun. And Max recorded that in our jam space, and he made it sound really good. And Max is the singer of the band, and he's really good at everything he does. So I was really happy with the finished product. We got Arthur Rizek to mix and master it as per usual, but it came out like I was worried it was going to sound because we didn't have time to go into the studio. We didn't have a lot of notice to do it. But yeah, we did that in our jam space, and I think it sounds wicked.
Yeah, dude. I had no idea that's how you recorded it. It does not sound like that at all.
Yeah, no, Max came in with his computer, and he got some good sounds, and we went in and did the guitar overdubs, and then I manned the computer while he did the vocals, and he was like, "There, it's done," and it's okay. And a couple months later, I was like, "Holy shit, this sounds fucking awesome!"
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm happy with that song. I'm really glad that it came to fruition because we sent it out into the ether, and we didn't hear from the CD Projekt Red people for months. And I was like, "Man, I hope we're on the soundtrack." And they ended up putting on one of the CDs that the Lakeshore released. We're on the first volume. There's like songs in the game, and we were one of like the ones they chose to put on that album. So I was really, really happy with that.
That's massive, man. I think that's really awesome to see. I mean, it's cool for like the whole community when you see like a band you really like, and then you see the kind of that opportunity that you guys get. Like it feels like everyone's kind of getting on there with you. So that was totally rad.
It felt pretty awesome, man. It was just something where it was like, whoa, I can't believe this actually happened. And a lot of my friends who aren't metal people, who maybe do like video games, it was kind of cool because my homies were like, whoa, I know what this is. Like, I know what video games are. This is a big deal. Like for them, it was a realization that Tomb Mold had been like successful. So
right,
I was totally happy about that because they're like, oh, he's still making music that sounds like a blender, and I'm like, yeah, no, I'm still doing that. And then they don't have any frame of reference for the shows or records we were playing. And I listened to it. It's crazy. The vocals are pretty hard to make out. Like, yes,
I think next thing on your list should be like you guys get to put out a song for like a wrestling promo or something. That would be legit.
Oh man, I would be into that. I don't know about the other guys. The other guys might be like, oh, wrestling. But
it's just another avenue that would expose new listeners, man. Like, why not?
It's true. There's a funny photo. I think Steve's wife Fran took a photo of us when we were in Mexico. and posted it on our like Facebook or whatever because we were playing Total Death Over Mexico Fest. I think that's what it was called. Yeah,
that festival was wild.
We played that, and we played with some really cool bands. And she took a photo of us and posted it, and we were on our way to the Mexican wrestling, a CMLL, at the Arena Mexico, which is one of the most hallowed, like legendary wrestling venues in the world. Top 3 probably with Coracon and Madison Square Garden. And I wore like a wrestling shirt in the photo, and when they posted it on Facebook, and like all the comments were just Tomb Mold fans being like, "Oh my god, this dorky guy likes wrestling too!" Like, oh, and they're tagging their friends like, "Check it out, he likes Bullet Club." Like, I had a Japanese wrestling shirt on because there was a little bit of crossover between Mexico and Japanese promotions with their stables, and I got a kick out of that because I think there's a massive wrestling community in death metal. It's a pretty intense crossover. Like, we would play shows and I'd be chatting with people. In a minute or two, we were arguing about, decisions in Japan. And I was like, I don't know about this Jay White guy, and it was pretty fun, which is nice. That's the nice thing about touring is it's very easy to talk to our people who come to see us or whatever, and I can usually find some common ground and talk right away. But yeah, a lot of the time that's wrestling. If I find some wrestling nerd, I just sort of like, hey, let's hang out all night till I play and we'll discuss. Right. So it's fun.
Yeah. There was a dude, I was at San Diego Comic-Con like 3 or 4 years ago, and there was a guy, he was cosplaying as Ric Flair, and like for like 2 hours at the bar, that's all we talked about was like wrestling, and he was the only cosplayer I saw that was a wrestling cosplayer. My fucking dog is being a bitch right now, but it's just so funny. Like, it's not something you casually get into. You're
either like, oh, I've seen that once or twice, or you're like, oh, I think Okada should have the belt again right now. Like, everyone's very opinionated. So yeah, it's fun. And if you have the historical aspect of it, like, or what you grew up with, you can always talk about that. It's like talking about the movies you loved as a kid. Like, those things leave such an impression on you. Like, I'm a real nostalgia hound anyway. Like, I'm always chasing the things I loved as a kid. So I can just watch wrestling and just zone out if I'm not feeling it. I put on some over. It's a great time. Ditto for music, ditto for movies. I watch the same movies over and over. But yeah, man. Yeah.
All right, man. Well, yeah, dude. Again, thanks so much for coming on. This was a blast. Yeah, dude. When you guys have something new to put out, like, that'd be awesome to get you back on, talk about that, talk more about wrestling. If you've gotten any more prints in that time, I'm sure. So.
Oh yeah, they're always in the mail. Always good.
I saw you post. You had like 6 tubes after a week. I'm like, oh my god.
Oh, there's been some pretty intense weeks, where I just, I tell people, like, yo, if you're in Toronto and you want tubes, DM me, man. If you're shipping out if you're selling your collection, I can give you a month and I'll have enough tubes for you. So
nice.
Yeah, man. No, the collection will continue on for sure.
All right, dude. Well, have a good one, man. Have a good rest of your weekend, and I hope you guys. I know you guys are going to do well with the band and stuff, so it's really cool to see you guys blowing up like that. So, yeah, dude, we'll talk soon.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
For sure, dude. Have a good one.
All right, you too.